Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. A warning to please keep your hands, feet, fingers, appendages, anything you have outside the mouths of the animals that you work with. Please do not attempt to recreate or reenact anything that you see this guy right here do. I am considered a professional. I've been doing it a long time, although I don't consider myself a professional. But we're going to have a nice flight. And this is just a warning. These are very dangerous animals. Dangerous things can happen. You can lose life and limbs. So please, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show. Enjoy the ride. We're going to do a little old intro action for you. So let's get that going. Ready? And boom.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.
Alright, please do that. So check this out. I'm going to get to this guy in a minute. He's got his little wings out here. I'm going to be extremely gentle with this guy. He just ate about 2 or 3 days ago, and I'm going to get into the species itself in a second. Before I do that, I want to thank everybody for your support along our journey here, especially after my long absence. You guys have been absolutely amazing online. So we're sticking to our 1 video a week. Next week or the following week, we're going to bump that up to probably 2 videos a week. And we're also going to be doing a live here probably tomorrow, maybe during the weekend. I'll keep you guys posted on that when I figure out my time frame there. But I wanted to give you guys all a big thank you for the support that you guys give. You guys are awesome and continue to amaze me. And thank you for sharing the passion that I have with these animals with me and hanging out on the channel. A couple other updates. I failed miserably at linking the Patreon on there, but we're going to go ahead and figure that one out today. So in the description, you should see links for Patreon and then my Facebook and Instagram. For those of you that want daily content, because I can't do a video every day just yet, hopefully in the future we will get to that point, but we're going to move to that slowly but surely. I want to set realistic goals. But if you want daily content, you can go to Justin James Awolada on Facebook, and we've been doing a reel to a couple of reels and some posts every single day for the last week and a half, and we're going to keep that going through. I have tons of videos on my phone that never got used. I have old videos, present videos, all kinds of stuff, tons of information. I usually leave a long, detailed post as well for you to learn about the specific species or whatever we're posting. But if you want daily content, fly over there and then just pay attention weekly. We'll have these videos, and then hopefully soon we'll be bumped up to the 2 videos a week, and so on and so forth. So that's the updates for the day. But I love you guys, and I also love what's in front of me right now. This, when I was a kid, was my absolute favorite species of snake on Earth, and there's reason for that. It is a venomous animal, but the toxins in it is a denmotoxin, and it's what's called a 3-finger toxin. And if you want to learn about that, search the 3-finger toxins. I tried to get into it enough to be able to teach you guys, but it's extremely difficult. It's extremely in-depth, and basically explains the breakdown of the proteins of the toxins that this animal carries, and they call it a 3-finger toxin because of the graph or whatever they have on there. I can't explain it in layman's terms for you, but it's super interesting to read. So if you search 3-finger toxins, you'll understand what this animal does as far as the potency and the toxin itself. Now I'm holding it like I'm holding it because this animal tends to be a little bit more shy. They're very finicky, and they are a species of least concern. On the CITES, which is basically a registry of all animals to tell you if the animal is critically endangered, if it's extinct, if it's vulnerable, if it is a species of least concern, it basically tells you all the levels of said animal. This one in particular, which is in the Boiga family, and this is Boiga Dendrophelia, or Boiga Dendrophylla, however you want to pronounce it. There's 1,000 different ways. It's Latin, so I want to say it's more Dendrophilia than anything else, if you feel me. You catch what I drew? You can catch them, throw them down there. And you do have to be careful with these guys. Although they have a mild toxin, they will definitely dendrophilia up. So you got to be careful. But the apparatus that they use is different from other snakes like elapids and vipers and the Crotalidae, which is your pit vipers and all that good stuff. They have their venom glands right in the back of their head and a fixed set of fangs in the front. Some are movable. The elapids are fixed fangs. When you go into your vipers and stuff, they can walk those fangs around. And then you have some other snakes like stilettos that'll pinch those suckers like right out to the side and just whip you back and forth and tag you up like that. These guys are rear fanged venomous snakes. And basically what that means is the apparatus is a little bit different. They have a duct that's right behind the eye, and that runs into the venom gland system, and you can see he's already getting pissed off as it is. All right, so don't worry, I've been bit 1,000 times by these guys before. So the toxin itself is mild. You had to choose the nub too, huh? You were being all chill and then you chose the nub. So they are rear fanged, which means just like he did, he would have to really get in there and he would have to bite down and chew a significant amount, because unlike the vipers and the cobras, well, the cobras will tend to hold on a bit and kind of give you a drain as they hold on. The pit vipers and vipers, they strike really quickly and they will dump in a significant amount of venom in you in a very short amount of time. These guys, a little bit different. They gotta chew and then they're slowly giving you that venom. And like I said, the denmotoxin is not very potent. There has been no fatalities given. That doesn't mean you should do what I do and get yourself bit by any of these guys, because if you have any allergies, if you're allergic to them itself, the venom itself, you can have other problems like anaphylactic shock and things like that. But there has been no recorded fatalities as far as this snake goes by itself. But right behind the eye, that duct connects to the venom gland in the rear fangs. So if I were to open the mouth, which I'm not because he just ate, so I don't want to stress him out too much, he's probably going to get a little bit more angry. You can see he's chill, but like I said, you know, I put my finger right next to his face and he goes and he takes the bite. So if I turned him around and faced him towards me, he'd probably take a bite towards the face as well. So the delivery system being in the back of the mouth, they do have to chew, and their fangs are not very big. Their jaws are not very strong. It's very difficult for them to get a bite around an arm or a leg. It was easy for him to get around the entire finger, but I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. You may get a little bit of swelling, but again, please, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta be careful with these guys, because you as a person for yourself may be allergic to some of these guys in different ways than me. Like, I have already been there. I know that I'm gonna be just fine, but you can have some problems with these guys. But the toxin itself has been basically designated as a bird-specific toxin. And these guys will eat fish and birds, and they'll pick them out of the trees and all that stuff, usually found, hence the name, next to the mangrove. So when we set these guys up in a full enclosure, right now they're in CV70 racks. We keep it very simple. They have their water bowls, they have some cypress as substrate. I keep the humidity where it needs to be, and then I keep the belly heat where it needs to be until they're feeding, eating, everything is good, their response is good. We get the endo and ectoparasites done and dealt with as far as mites or any worms on the inside of the snake, and then we get them feeding before they go anywhere. Now, this was gonna be a project that I was gonna work on, but because we have to pretty much build out the reptile room from top to bottom, these guys are gonna be rehomed. It was just a matter of time. And a lot of times you'll get these guys imported because they are a species of least concern, which is a good thing, because that means there's plenty out there. You're not gonna kiss me in the face. Because there's plenty out there in the wild, but it's also a bad thing because many of the importers out there don't really transport the snakes exactly how you should. And again, because they're shy and finicky, they stress very easily. So the individuals that come in are usually sold right as soon as they hit the door. And then you end up getting yourself into a snake that's very difficult because it's been shipped overseas and then immediately boxed back up and shipped once again to wherever you live. Now, this guy's got an aberrant pattern. Basically what that means is it's not the normal pattern that you would find in these mangrove snakes. And since he's getting a little excited, I'm gonna go ahead and get him soaking. So what we're gonna do here is put him in here, and we're gonna dump him with some water. And the reason I do this once a week, because even though they may drink out of the water bowls, they're not super good at it. So I wanna make sure that they're constantly hydrated, constantly good. And it also helps with the skin. And once these guys are fully good and ready to go, I should have brought a bigger box for you, homie. Once these guys are fully healthy and ready to go, that's when I send them out. So that's the difference between me and some other people. You can find imports easily, and I'm not saying I'm the only person that can deal with an import and make it a healthy snake to be able to go to a new home, but it does take time. So for me, it's been, I want to say 6 or 7 months since I got these guys, and I watch them very closely, and again, I don't mess with them very much at all. This is probably the most I've messed with them since I got them, just so I don't stress them out. I don't want any regurging. I don't want any other issues, and I want them eating, and that's the biggest things. It happens with king cobras. It happens with a lot of venomous snakes. People get these guys, and they immediately want to show these guys off, and I get it. It's a wonderful, beautiful snake, but the more you mess with it, the less likely your chances are of getting a healthy snake, because these guys will stress themselves to death. They won't eat, they won't feed, and eventually they'll go downhill, and then you have yourself a dead snake, which is what we do not want. So I'm gonna move this guy over to the corner, and because this box sucks, I'm gonna put another little lid on it. As a matter of fact, I'll just put the other big guy right on top of that. And I'm gonna let him soak there for probably about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll go back to that. And you can see the finger's not really doing much of anything. I'm probably not gonna get any swelling. The discoloration is not from the animal itself, and of course you got the nub. The discoloration is from bad things. I don't even wanna say it, but I will. It's cigarettes. Don't smoke, kids. It's a terrible idea. Stay away from it. Stay away from cigarettes. Stay away from any substances that are gonna ruin your body, I promise. The best idea that you could possibly ever have. No vaping, no cigarettes, stay clean, healthy, all that good stuff. All right, I'm gonna clip it real quick. We're gonna get the next snake, and then we're gonna move to the other 2 smaller snakes and my favorite one of the pack. Boom.
Go.
Boom. Okay, so here's our next little individual. Again, a couple issues with a little shedding problem here, but we're gonna try and take care of that after the soak. So obviously I don't have to go too much into the description of the animal. This is another aberrant pattern one. And when I say aberrant pattern, it just means like if you look at the regular mangrove snakes out in the wild, they'll usually have the yellow rings that go all the way around. So they connect from the dorsal all the way to the ventral. Dorsal being the top, ventral being the bottom, and then they always tend to sport these big, huge, beautiful yellow faces that they have on them. And I'm gonna show you a snake that's exactly the same species from a different locality that looks completely different than this. But this is a reduced pattern or aberrant pattern snake. So these 2 are a pair, and I would assume if you were to breed these guys, it's not proven obviously because I haven't bred them, but whoever gets the chance to breed these guys, it's a phenomenal project. You may get more reduced pattern snakes, you may get patternless all the way around, or you may get what I have last for you here. If you put that one in the mix, and you may get a wonderful little abnormality when it comes to the patterning of these snakes. And I'll show you that in the last one there. And again, you guys can see that these guys are relatively chill, but he's just checking things out. If I wear him, I welcome, just like the other one, he will take a bite. So it's only for experienced keepers, not for kids, not for people that never kept anything venomous before. You really, like, this is a good place to start as far as venomous snakes go. If you're gonna go for venomous, this is a good species to start with just because of the low risk of things that can go wrong. But I always suggest if you're ever gonna get into venomous snakes, always, always, always have a mentor first. Go work with somebody that's worked with venomous snakes for a long time, gain the knowledge from them, work around the animals, have somebody help you along the way. Do that for about a year, maybe 2, and then after that, you can maybe start to get yourself into a collection of your own. But I highly recommend always having a mentor first. You want that mentor, you want the experience, you don't want to just hop into things, because if that had been like a king cobra, a gaboon viper, or anything else, I'd be on my way to the hospital right now, and I'd probably be laid out, especially with the bite the way that was. Now, these guys will fan themselves up, so they will puff up. These guys are not doing it right now because they're not extremely pissed off, but they will puff up. They'll do the big S, and they can strike a good long distance. So even from right here, if I was staring at him, if he turned around, he could strike me in the face. So you gotta be incredibly careful. But let's get this guy soaking as well. And then we'll move on to the Sulawesi locale, which is basically just a different area. And these guys are found in many different places. And we'll get into the locale specific stuff here in a second. Why are you gonna be a butthole? We do this every week, but there he goes opening his mouth so you can see him fanning himself out. And it's basically just when he gets hit with the water and stuff like that. And we're gonna put you back in there. Go ahead and soak drink. And I'm using lukewarm water as well. I don't like to shock them out because we keep their temperatures at a constant, so I don't want to put cold water in them for them to soak with. And then this guy especially is a pain in my butt because I always want him to go under the water and I get some of that stuff off of his skin. So I'm going to double that up. All right, so I'm going to put one more of these in there and then we're going to switch to the smaller snake and we're going to be done with this species. Boom! All right, so we're going to do the last one here. I have another one soaking, which is a Sulawesi. He's a black mangrove snake, so no yellow color at all. I'm not gonna pull that guy out. He's been my biggest pain in the butt as far as things go. I honestly didn't think he was gonna make it. I'll show you guys him in the future. Now here is an angry little booger, but he is absolutely, I keep saying he. We have males and females. And I'm gonna show you guys how to sex some snakes in the future with probes. Some that you can pop, that's what they call it, which is basically when you roll the tail back and get the hemipenes to pop out. And I prefer probing at the proper age. It's a little bit safer, but there's some snakes that you don't even want to do that with, especially boreals. You want to be really careful when sexing those guys. You could damage whatever's on the inside. If you're trying to breed the snakes and you damage the hemipenes or the organs in there, the snake will survive, but you'll never get any babies from it. So you end up doing a lot more damage. Now this guy, this is my favorite out of the bunch, and he is an angry little peckerhead. Chill out there, big guy. Chill out. Now again, if this was a species that I knew could cause me extreme danger, I would be using the tools, I would be using the hooks, and you can tell he's got a big old fat belly. He just sucked down a couple of chicks the other day, but look at him fan out his head like that. He's gonna make himself look big. He's gonna make himself look angry. He's got the S position ready to go. I'm sure if Brooke wanted to get a little closer with the camera, he'd strike towards you so you could see that strike, but we don't want him to strike, we want him to chill out. But look at him, he fans that head out. He's telling you he's big and bad, but the best part about this guy is look at the pattern on this. Non-existent except for the first third of that snake. So he's got the same yellow face as the other guys, and this is the same exact species. It's the there you go, there's a little strike for you. Right back to the S pattern there. He's probably gonna turn around and try and yank on me. So he's got the same, look at that, beautiful. So they'll open their mouths too, just to show that they're just big and bad. So if you look at this guy, he's got the same yellow features underneath the jaws. So it's basically a straight little jaw pattern there. So each little scale has a little black line that goes through it, separates the scalation with that beautiful yellow. And this guy's striped all the way down to about right here on his body. And it's just a small yellow stripe underneath. So this one's extended. There's a little spot here. And I believe there's a little spot elsewhere on the other side. But this one's extremely interesting. So this one would be an aberrant pattern one as well. I don't know if I've ever seen any out there that are like this. I'm gonna call it a striped Boiga. But this guy in the proper collection could breed out some really beautiful animals, which the more that we breed in captivity, the less that we're gonna collect from the wild. And I'd like to see that a lot more, especially with this species because of how badly and how poorly they do when they're imported and how hard it is to get them to this point right here. I've been through hell with all of these snakes and we've done all kinds of treatments, and I have a couple more sitting in their racks right now, but we wanted a short episode, so I brought out the best of the best. I have some normal ones as well with the rings that go fully around. But with the captive breeding, if we can get these guys and we can stabilize them a little bit more and get more of a captive collection out there, then that will reduce the need to bring any of these guys from the wild, because they are pretty specific when it comes to how to keep them and how to deal with them, and they're not for beginners. A lot of people will shoot for these guys. They'll shoot for them straight out of importation, and they have a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and the snakes end up dying. So realistically, if you want these guys, look for US CBB. There are some out there. They're a little bit more expensive than your imports, obviously, but you're gonna get a lot more bang for your buck because you don't have to worry so much about the treating, especially if you don't have access to meds, vets, things like that for venomous snakes. It's a lot easier to just go for the USCBB or find somebody that you know and trust that does the importation and does something similar to like what I do, because I will not release an animal if I know that something's going to be wrong with the animal. So it's been 6 to 8 months to get these guys where they're at. They came in a little thin, but honestly, one of the better shipments that I've ever seen as far as the mangroves go. Aside from the Siloeses, the all black ones, those were a little beat up, but those guys are still doing okay as far as things go or whatever. But these guys really flourished, and the key thing, keep it simple, stupid. Just a very simple setup, meeting the heat requirements, meeting the humidity requirements, trying different meals until you get to where you need to be. So I know that these guys will eat birds, those guys will eat both. The little Siloeses, I gotta switch all the time to figure out what it is. We try fish, we try everything to avoid force feeding. If you force feed this species in particular, chances are the day that you wake up after you force feed, these guys are gonna be dead. So pretty much do everything you can before you get to force feeding. They do not do well with the force feeding. Any stress on these guys, they just do not do well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him back. We're gonna soak him up too. And before we end the episode, I'm gonna go back to my first big boy and we're gonna try and help him get some of that shed off. Even though he's gonna be popping back in the shed here probably immediately, since everybody's already eaten and everybody just got rid of their ectoparasites, so he's probably gonna throw himself back in the shed relatively quickly, but I wanna try and get some of the excess pieces off of him. Listen, butthead, you never wanna soak. This one I'm not too worried about because he seems to drink out of the water bowl a little bit better than the rest, but still, I want him to soak. And again, lukewarm water is the best way to go to try and not shock that snake. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The mangrove snake, the Boiga family. Again, I think there's 8 or 9, I want to say 9 subspecies of said family. You got the cat-eyed snakes, a bunch of different other ones. Look that stuff up, it's pretty interesting. So there's your rear fanged venomous animal right there with a Dendrophelia, 3-finger toxin. Go ahead and look up those toxins and tell me what you think in the comments. Boom. And the finger is fine, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Barely even blood from the fanged fangs. All right. Let's do a little bit of cleaning on the last one, and I'll be done with this episode.
No.
All right, so we got this guy here. This was the first one that I brought out. I think this is the little peckerhead that bit me in the finger. So I don't want to restrain him too much, but there is a little bit of shed that I want to get off of this guy. He's got like 2 little wings out here, and I've been dying to get rid of this stuff. But I'll soak beforehand because you don't want to just tear it off while it's dry. Even still now, it looks like it's about to stay on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just for safety, get around his head there, see if I can peel up. I'll usually pull, and if that shed doesn't just slough off of there, I'll leave it, but I'll remember, like I'm gonna go back into my logs, and I'm gonna mark that underneath his jaws, right where his upper and lower jaw meet, is where we're having the most problems with the shed, but he'll probably get rid of that on his next shed. And the posterior of the eye, meaning the back end, not his back end, but the back end of the eye, right back here is where his venom ducts are, and that runs straight to his rear fangs, which are gonna be like right up in this area right here. So, I believe this guy had, I know, Huffy Puffy. Is that it for you? So you'll see when these guys come in imported too, they are wild specimens. So if you check this out right here, you can see where he probably had an injury when he was either younger and or recently, you know, before he got imported. These are wild snakes. So when they're out there in the wild, they're not as clean as the ones that we have in captivity. We keep them away from all harm and danger. So this guy could have maybe got grabbed by something, maybe he got stuck on something, so you can see a little scar right there. So not perfect in every way, shape, and form, but perfect in my eyes. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And perfect for the rare collector, especially for colubrids. Yes, this is in the colubrid family. So there you go. There's your rear fang colubrid of the day. The mangrove snake. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, be responsible, be careful, love your animals, treat your animals the best that you possibly can, do as much research as you possibly can on any animal, gather all that research before you get into anything, especially something like this. There are other snakes that are non-venomous that are just as finicky as this guy, and you really just want to go in there, research, and make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, because it protects what? Protects you, but it also protects the animal. All right, love you guys. I'm out. Boom.